So on the building bench is a distinct situation of what the hell are you doing now build. So I seen this thing sitting in the pile of piles. First thing I seen in its current state was a three-wheeled looking go-kart ride around thing. Okay, stick with me, stick with me. I'm envisioning a seat here, steering wheel here, a single tire down here that is steered by some means, and then this motor just rotated with a clutch and a sprocket here. That's what I'm thinking. Should be fairly quick, simple build. It's been a while since I built something really stupid on this channel, and this does fit that criteria of stupid. So I was going to show you dramatic, oh, let's even get the engine to start, but I already pulled the reason it's down is the pump was bad. It wasn't working, split or frozen or whatever it would be. I took the pump off, and then so I pulled it over, see if it had compression, and it started. Honda, that's why. So the motor runs. It's good to deal with that at all. So that's a good thing. It was nice and quiet, sounded good, so I don't even bother starting it for you because it just sounds like a nice, tight Honda. So first things first, we'll get this off. We won't need this because it's not a pressure washer anymore. And we'll get the motor unbolted, get it rotated, and we'll start figuring out how to hook this clutch up to the wheel and how we're going to fit a sprocket in there. We'll go into more details like this. The pile of parts, it's a bunch of crap I grabbed out of the barn that I had laying around, so I think there's enough crap here I might be able to pull this off without actually buying anything. So let's get the motor unbolted and we will take it from there. Done. So I'm thinking the motor ends up right about there. We got a pretty good, we're going to clear the frame with the chain. And we'll somehow get a sprocket on this wheel here. Still, yeah. I've been debating whether to do a solid axle and drive both wheels. But I do have concerns about well, if you've been in a front wheel drive car and propelling yourself forward and turning, when you get if you don't have an open diff, the one thing likes to drag and push you, and it's not steerable. So I think I'm just going to stick with driving the one wheel, which will make it much simpler, but we'll probably lose some traction, may have some traction issues if we get in some really weird terrain, but I don't think this is going to be a weird terrain type of vehicle anyway. So we'll start with just the one wheel drive, and then I guess if it's a problem we can always run an axle through and make it both wheel drive, I guess. So let's get this tire off and try to figure out what we can do about a sprocket. I do have what I think I want to use for a sprocket. I don't know. This is what I had laying around. I'm concerned about the gear ratio, power to ratio, gear drive. Probably should be a bigger sprocket, but because it's here, and because we don't like to just throw crap away, and this kind of an old snowblower, we'll try to use this and see what we end up with for power. Alright, kind of got a sort of plan of attack here. So this wheel here, we want to use the sprocket, blah blah blah, attach it here. Well, if you look, it's too close to the tire. I have to extend this or do something funky, but I got another set of wheels here that we're going to use for the front, or for the steering wheel in the back. It's got a much deeper hub. So that'll actually work. I can do some boring to this to make it fit around this inlay here, and then weld it on there as straight as possible. So we'll do that instead, and then we'll just turn these tires. This will become the steering wheel on the back, and then these two ones will go on the front. This will be eliminated, I decided, and then we will. I just got started and already lost shit. Okay, here, this bolt here will be on here, attached to this somehow. I haven't decided how yet. Some sort of brackets and stuff to sturdy that up, and that'll be attached there, and then boom. Right, that's gonna work, right? All right, should work good enough. So I'll get the old axle cut off and start fabbing in the new stuff. So I got the bore cleaned up, machined a little lip on the edge there. The plan is to weld this on here. I almost screwed up because I got the bolts. This thing's still hot, but almost screwed up. The bolts are going to be captive, obviously, behind the that holds the wheel together, behind the sprocket. I almost forgot to weld the bolts on. That would have sucked. So did that. So we'll get this on here, get it as straight as we possibly can get, and we'll weld this onto the wheel. That's what we're going to do now. I don't know. I'm not sure how straight it's going to be. Let's find out. So based on the level of sketch with this project here, or this sprocket mess, oops, that's not too bad. Little wobble to it, but it's not horrible by no means. That's pretty damn near dead on for the part of the concern. So yeah, we're gonna call that a win. Sketchy win, but a win nevertheless. So let's get this wheel back together again and start working on some brackets to get that these wheels attached to the frame again. All right, so there's our little axle brackets. Let's grab, here's my little axles. So the final result will be this going in there like that, getting welded in there solid. But in the meantime, just to make sure that they're lined up before I final weld them, little piece of 9/16 inch rod. That's what size that is. I think that's what size it is. But so we'll leave that in there, and I'll tack these in. Gonna try doing something different and not final weld everything and have to cut it all apart later. So we'll tack everything up. I'll probably end up boxing these in for strength, and I may even end up using a section. This is the original axle here. These will be inside of here. If I cut this out and weld it butt to butt, this will be in a little bit of an additional support to keep the axles from doing this shit. Probably should have just ran a solid one all the way through, but that's okay. We'll do that. So let's get this tacked up, welded up solid, and then we'll move on to something more interesting, like getting the motor back in it. All right, that's welded in. I'm pretty happy with that. They're fairly straight enough for what we need. Did weld that brace bar and there, just felt better now. The chances of this folding up and doing weird crap will be reduced. I still want to cap these off just for some extra strength. But now let's get the tires on, wheels on, our sprocketed wheel on, so we can see where our chain's going to line up, and let's get the motor figured out. You can obviously see the motor was pointed this way. We're going to turn it this way. We'll have to drill and cut some slots for tensioning the chain, but we will do that now. All right, chain's on. Ooh, chain. I think I like where the motor's sitting, kind of proportionally and centered. I'll just have to build something out here for your feet to sit on. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. But now I want to draw some holes so I figure out where we're going to drill and slot in that pan to hold the motor. We got a very specific custom tool, very expensive. No, it's just a cutoff pencil I usually use, and just put it in the hole and, you know, draw it around. Best if I do this, I tend to do one of these kind of roundy round things. Tends to get you a little bit closer to the center of the hole, and make a bunch of marks. Gives you a better chance of succeeding. So we'll do that, drill some holes, and then cut some slots, and so we got some way adjusting the chain tight. And now we'll move on to whatever the hell comes next. Once again, not planning, just building. Someday I'll plan, but not today. So seriously pondering how I'm going to do the pivot point here for the forks. And last night it came to me. A front wheel bearing hub assembly for a front wheel drive car. Not only do we got the extremely heavy duty, but this piece of 1-inch pipe fits perfectly inside the hub, so this becomes the, you know, shaft assembly that the fork's attached to. And then I found a chunk of probably 3/4 inch or 1-inch stock that fits nicely inside of it, for some additional strength up in this area here where it's going to be potential critical for bending. So I'll be using this here to build the forks out of. So I think that's the next thing. First thing, I'm going to get this mounted in here to get an idea of how long the fork's got to be, and also get the tire assembly put together, and yeah, just start cutting and welding and making some sort of structurally strong fork assembly to hold that back wheel. I'll have to brace this up. Obviously it's just a piece of thin tin, it'll never support, so I'll put some bracing underneath it to strengthen it all up, and I'll probably gusset right here, do some gussets right here on both sides to strengthen this piece of it up. And I probably gusset here too. So gusset here, strengthen that up. So let's start building. First we'll cut this hole out the center here. You get thoughts of this flange here can go inside up through that hole there, and then bolt that in, and then everything below that can just get welded together, because it can just come out in one big piece. So let's get to build. That hole's not going to win any awards, but that's the plan. Just drill some holes and bolt it in there. Wow, that looks dumb. Okay, this is kind of the layout here. So things that need to happen now is there's got to be some bracing, obviously, in this area here to support this little piece of tin. Is going to be able to carry the load here. Now to build a set of forks, I'm thinking, I don't know, I want to take as much of this pipe out of here as I can, because this will probably be the structurally weak part of it. Round tubing, not as strong as square, so I'll make more fork, less tube, maybe like right about here. That way I can put my piece of solid stock right in here, strengthen this area up here. And yeah, that'll probably be it. You know, like you see in the previous shot, we can put a steering wheel right in here someplace, and a seat back here someplace. I'm not sure where that's going to go. Obviously this will have to be whole assembly be welded to the fork, whatever I decide to build there. So let's get some stock out here, or some square stock or rectangle stock, and start building a set of forks. Okay, break times, breaks time, break time. No, making break time, making breaks. So plan is we're gonna have this drum and band style brake system. I did decide to put it on the back of the cart, the back wheel, just because I thought if brakes up front, pull brakes, flip over forwards, crashy smashy. So we'll put it in the back. Made some spacers. I have some aluminum scrap crap laying around. We'll bolt this through the wheel, hold on together, and then we can start building the forks, I guess. And I kind of need the wheel and brake band, everything, know how wide everything's going to be. This does sit a little bit high from the bearing here, so we'll have to do some sort of little spacer on one side to clear the brake drum, but it shouldn't be a big deal. So let me get this bolted up, and then we can kind of set it in place and start taking measurements on what our forks are going to look like. Forks are going to look like back here. So get this bolted up. Okay, we've got our little bars built. Well, part of our forks built. We've got sleeves in here, keep this from crushing down. I got a sleeve inside the actual hub of the wheel to keep the bearing from crushing in. Now we just need to connect this somehow in kind of a pretty like way, I guess. I was thinking maybe one of these type of deals, maybe something like that. Yeah, so I got obviously some corners to cut. I gotta cut some corners. I gotta cut these off, probably whatever, 22 degrees, 22 and a half degrees, and just start building this section of it here. Get that welded up, and then this fork will be pretty close to done. I just have to weld this cap on there, and then weld this to this, and then weld this to this, to this, to this, to that, to that, and it'll be all connected. So let's get some more of this tube cut up, and take it from there. Ignore the mess. Yeah, I gotta get that cleaned up before I move on too much further. But there we go. All right, forky thingy, weldy uppied. Got it in place. I think it looks straight. I think it looks pretty good, I think. Well, good enough for us anyways. So what I'm gonna do now is we need to weld this piece of solid stock to the forks. Weld this pipe to this little piece of plate there, and then we need to weld the whole thing to here, obviously after we cut this off to length, and we'll call that, I think, pretty good, right? Yeah, we'll call that good. And we can move on to, next will be seat. Okay, we got to make some sort of a seating arrangement. I'm thinking now plans are changing. Thinking the seat will be here, maybe your feet will be out here. You'll sit on it like a mobility scooter. We'll call it the hillbilly mobility or something. I don't know, we'll think of a name for it. But anyways, next will be seats. Let's get this welded up. You don't need to watch me weld because it's not impressive or pretty, but we'll get this welded up, and then we'll move on to doing something up here. I think first thing I'm gonna do is take this here and straighten this out, bring this down so that you've got a place for your feet. So we'll just pie cut the back side of these here and then fold it back down, and that'll be where your feet go. And then we'll take it from there, figure out the seat and everything else. Be right back. All right, that's dumb. I like it. We're doing it. We're going to put the seat somewhere about that area there. Obviously sit there, feet here. I even got this thingy, which is the second rider thingy for the motorcycle, and I'll make this a little sissy bar. Sure, make a little sissy bar type thing that'll sit there like that. So I'm thinking, right, here's a place, a single bar at the middle, right all the way back. Maybe I take it back to here and weld it into here. That'll add some more rigidity to this questionable area of the thing. God, this thing's getting dumb. And then just build some mount points off of that center pipe to hold the seat in place. Sure, why not? At this point, anything goes, obviously. All the rules are out the window, so. All right, let's get this pipe. I'll bend a piece of pipe and cut it, and we'll get that welded in there. And then we'll kind of go from there, I guess. All right, so there we go with the seat and the little sissy bar thing. It looks pretty good. That's just the seat off that old Honda motorcycle over there in the corner. It's a scrap bike, so don't worry. We're taking the engine off that for another project. But anyways, looks pretty good, but I think it might be missing something at the top. Isn't there supposed to be something at the top to make it look all nasty and cool? How about that? I don't know. Let's get it down. Hold it up again and see what it looks like. Alright, got a little ahead of myself without the camera rolling, but made myself some tie rod ends. Little bendy. Plan is obviously connect here, right here, and then right about in here somewhere, about parallel with where that one's at, and then on both sides. And that'll be the steering mechanism. Dug through the scrap bin, found some nice little piece of bracket here. Perfect, because it's already got 3/8 inch holes drilled in it. So yeah, just clean it up a little bit. Goes on yonder. Boom, weld that on there, and we got it mounted. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, get these hooked up at the arm, and then I'll have to do some adjusting on the length here, and then I'll actually be welding in a 3/8 inch bolt that'll go on the other side of knuckle. Here's the other knuckle here, the other knuckle, so it has some adjustment on it, which will somehow help some way. So let me get these rest of these brackets cut up, made pretty, and we'll get them welded onto the actual cart. All right, a little bit of a design flaw here. Had them down here trying to clear the gas tank, but two problems. I've got a turning radius of about an inch, so it's not enough to turn. So a little redesign here. We're going to move them so they're mounting up here and pivoting closer to the center of the shaft, which will give me more radius. And then also we're going to move this point up higher, so we'll get a lot more throw out of the steering and get the radius. And all I'm going to do is just take the gas tank, because this design is based on the fact I was trying to clear the gas tank. We'll just take the gas tank off and just mount it up here. It'll serve two benefits. We'll be able to not have to worry about the steering linkage hitting it, but also it'll get the filler neck in a little bit more of a convenient place right there. So a couple little tabs, move the tank up there, a little longer fuel line, boom, done. I'll move these up here, and that'll be that'll work out much better. I didn't show the initial failure because, well, nobody likes to see failures, right? We can do this, and you can see how it doesn't work right. So with that much throw, my spot welds broke. It's not turning sharp enough. We want it to turn really sharp, so little redesign, we'll be fine. Let's cut this part and redo it right. Well, better, maybe not right. All right, new mounting up here. Move this from here up to here, and it is 1,000,000,000% better. Steer's good now, so we'll tack this up a little bit sturdier before I probably final weld them. Probably take it apart and final weld them. Steering, so when we test drive, we'll get overly excited and we'll end up just test driving with everything tacked up and it'll all fall apart. So we'll weld it all the way up. They said we took the gas tank off, so I'm gonna put the gas tank right here. Not a big deal, but I think next I'm gonna work on getting our throttle and brake stuff figured out yet. There's gonna be some changes obviously in here. I left it kind of pointy out a little bit, you know, give me options, so when I sit in there I'll figure out exactly where to put them so they're comfortable. So let's do that next. Let's get the bars straightened and get the handles in place for the brake and the throttle. Alright, got the handle thingies, added a bend here, added this section on here which is actually a motorcycle handlebar, and then put the control levers on here. So this will be throttle, this will be brake. I did sit on it, feels cozy and I don't know, cozy-ish considering what it is. So let's start with the brakes. Should be pretty straightforward. Found a couple old junk pieces of cable here. Old lawnmowers and stuff. We'll use those for now. And let's get the brakes done first. Not that they've been more complicated, but they're the most important maybe? I don't know. So brakes first, and then we'll move on to the throttle. And then it's just a matter of finishing up, bolting up, and getting the gas tank on here, and then we're done. Whew. All right. All right. We got our brake hooked up. Little thingy there, and a movie down there. So that's done. Cable's round around. Now we're working on the throttle. Normally I eliminate the governor on these things, but we're going to try it without it. So I'm just tapping off of, so right here's the arm running down to the governor on the crankcase here, runs the throttle there. Add the spring to it, pull it tight. Then we'll just hook our cable through here and run the end down there. And we'll see if that actually works. Pulling the throttle here, so hold tight. Let's get that done. And that should be, that might be actually it. So let's see what happens. All right, time for the dramatic walk around. Little bit of grinding, little bit of paint, and the turd is now polished. Doesn't look too bad. For those that have been following along the build, you'll notice a little change to the steering. I didn't do that for dramatic visual effects. It's actually as awkward as it is to operate anyways. The steering was backwards. So all I did was just simply modify the steering arms a little bit and flipped them over and crossed them over, and that worked just fine. So now steering the right way, whatever that might be. Looks good. We'll call this one done. Move on to the next one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.